Hello. I am just wanting to talk about the Switch 2 because, I mean, as pictured here, I like this thing. And I like doing research on this thing. And I know a lot of people, let me just stop this real quick. I know a lot of people don't like to do research on things like this. So that's why I've done it myself. I think I know a lot more than this. This is just all I could think of at the moment. Also, yes, I bought a Switch 2, but I still don't have a Windows license. Oh well. Um, so I got the stats, just like roughly. And go through them. On the left is the Switch 2, and on the right is the Switch 1. One thing of interest is the size is much, like decently larger. I almost said much larger. It's not extremely, but it is very noticeable, as you can tell here. We have a 7.9-inch display as opposed to the previous 6.2. We're now in 1080p on handheld. Used to be 720. Also 120 hertz. As you can see, 120 FPS, and it's very beautiful. At 60 hertz, no. We now also have HDR and variable refresh rate, which means the refresh rate can go and change from 120. Your phone most likely has this. A lot of phones have this actually. I believe most do. It's good for battery saving. So like if you're looking at a still image, it can change to like 1 because it knows that it doesn't need to update, right? Or you're watching a video that's 30 FPS or 60 like this one. If you're watching it on a variable refresh rate display or monitor or on the Switch 2, I guess, it can go to 60, which is really nice. Now the internals, they kept with NVIDIA. You got the Tegra T239, also known as the Drake. We used to have the Tegra X1. Something interesting about those, I got the specs here of both of them. Let's zoom in a little bit. Alright, so we got the Switch 2 on the left here, Switch 1 on the right, just like over here. You got, specs, all this stuff. More CUDA cores, clock speed's a little higher on both, which is actually very important. The RAM went from 4 gigs of DDR4 to 12 gigs of DDR5, which is insane. Memory interface bandwidth, also big jump. The GPU architecture went from Maxwell to Ampere, that's pretty good. All this is just very good specs, amazing. So we went from 32 gigs eMMC to 256 UFS 3.1, which is big storage-wise. This is like 4 times the amount. It's amazing. They're both able to do 2 terabytes. However, Switch 2 only does microSD Express, which is faster, but currently very new as of today's date. So there's not a lot out there, and it's pretty expensive. I believe 256 ones are going for like 40, 50, and then I think there's 512, or maybe even 60. There's 512 ones going for like almost 100, and that's a little much. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit personally. Now the battery is definitely bigger, right? On the 5220 milliamp hours from 4310, both lithium ion. However, the bigger battery does not mean way more life. In fact, it could be a lot less in handheld. 2 to 6.5 hours is what it's rated at, while the Switch 1 was 4 to 5.9, which is a lot more, rounded, very similar. And then the weights, it's definitely heavier. It's nearing on 150 grams heavier. Again, estimated. Performance, which is spelled correctly. See? The Switch 2 can go up to 4K 60, while the Switch 1 went up to 1080 60. This is in docked. It's got Wi-Fi 6, which is better, so that's something. Some things of interest, besides just the specs. Here we have Switch 1 screenshot and a Switch 2 screenshot, Switch 1 video and Switch 2 video. These were both docked. The Switch 2 ones are in 1440p because I don't have a 4K monitor. So let's just look at these blind. And so here's the Switch 1, here's the Switch 2. I took them at the same time with the same outfit in different saves, so this was very expensive. It took all my rupees. I'm broke now. But I don't know if you can tell. It says down here the Switch 2 screenshot is in 1080, while the Switch 1 screenshot is in 720. And I mean, to me this is pretty obvious, right? Look at that. It's a lot better. The only difference with these pictures is the weather. It's cloudy here while it's sunny here. So I tried my best, but like there's just like little things like the anti-aliasing on the leaves is a lot less noticeable. That's that. And the videos, which I will pull up here. So that's the Switch 1. And then that's the Switch 2. It was hard to get. I took a video from my Switch 1 that I took forever ago. Same with the Switch 2, the Switch 1 picture, because I just didn't want to record all of them again. So this was me forcibly dying to this guy. But if you can tell, that looks pretty good, right? Now let's go back to the Switch 1. It's obviously lower quality. If you want to get the specifics, here we go. Alright, so the size of the Switch 2 one is bigger, right? Oh, more than double, which is kind of insane. But that's because it's in 1080p. Both at 30 though, 30 FPS. The bitrate for the audio is very slightly higher. Total bitrate of the video itself is extremely higher, like way higher, which makes sense. So that's the stuff about the video. Now the other thing that could be very confusing is the Switch 2 updates. These ones right here, these are, oh my goodness, I've never pressed that button before. These are all free. Oops. These are all free. So all of these will have their own individual little things. I feel like it's too much to look into specifically, but most of them are FPS capped at 60 now. Maybe texture updates and whatnot, but if you're interested in these, look into these yourself one by one because they're all very different. But I wanted to look at specifically these paid ones. That's what these Nintendo Switch 2 editions. That's different. Nintendo Switch 2 editions are different than updated for Nintendo Switch 2. Very, very totally obvious and not at all confusing to the layman. So these are free. If it just says it's going to be an update, it's free. If it's Nintendo Switch 2 edition, these are paid. How much are you paying? It differs per one, but here's what we got so far. Kirby Forgotten Land, 20 USD. Same with Mario Party Jamboree and Jamboree TV. Both the Zeldas, $10 each, so that's $20 if you have both of them, which you should. These two, I believe, as far as I'm aware, have not been announced. And if you're curious on what each one does, you can go through them a little bit. Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. These are both already at. They both use the app. Improved frame rate, faster load, and HDR. Apparently ZA is going to improve just frame rate and resolution. This will support mouse controls, enhanced resolution, there's quality and performance mode, HDR. And you got Kirby, which will have a new story, so DLC, and it'll look improved. Mario Party Jamboree is going to get some DLC, new modes, game share compatibility, resolution and whatnot, visually enhanced, all that stuff. Last thing I would like to recommend some people to watch, maybe some videos specifically to watch. Let me first recommend the videos. This is my mate Vince. He's famous for fixing tech and for testing
Now,
out
of
things.
course, there's one more thing you all want to know about, and don't lie, you want to know what happens if you put a USB cable from here to here.
Watch his video to find out. And then this guy, Sungrand Studios, who goes in depth because he is personally a developer for the Switch and other consoles and makes games and whatnot. So he knows more about the technical aspects that goes into games. He talked a lot about Scarlet and Violet. That's how I found him. Here he is setting up something. I believe that's a blowgun.
Doesn't seem right. Where is this?
Alright, and then of course you got jerry rig everything. You know, durability tests. Ugh. That hurts to watch. Okay. That's all. Bye.